Are you really confused with all the different research out there on all these new weight loss drugs? Well, don't worry, you're not alone. I'm Dara Thomason, and this is Weight Loss Drugs and What to Do About Them. And I'm the Quilter's Coach, and this is podcast episode 159. And today's podcast might be a little hot and spicy. Some people might not be happy with what I'm going to say, and that's okay. I've actually thought about this podcast for over a month because it is extremely controversial. And the more that I research, the more that I look into it, it is extremely interesting to me how we have all of these different specialists saying all sorts of different things. No wonder we're feeling confused. So one of my jobs as a life coach is to take big concepts and as a teacher and then boil them down. And what I like to do is use a filter for what is the truth. And of course, the truth is subjective for everybody. So today's episode, we're going to really focus on common sense. We're going to focus on what we can learn from history. We're also going to focus on brain science. And my goal for you is by the end of this podcast, you are going to feel like you can make a much more informed decision and really start seeing for yourself what this is all about in the first place. But before we dive into this episode, I always love to share these wins from the members of my membership because, of course, I have this lifetime membership. And this one is so sweet because this member, she's been with me for almost 4 years, I think. I think she joined in 2021. And she is recently widowed. And it's just been incredible to watch her truly embrace the life that she has. So she went to the Sisters quilt show all by herself because there was someone that she really admires in the quilting world and she was going to be teaching a class. So she flew up by herself, went to it, organized everything. And then her daughter and granddaughters were going to join her. And the puppy actually got really sick. The daughter wasn't able to leave the dog, but she was able to send the granddaughters do this big exploration on the Oregon coast. And the thing that is amazing to me is how many times she had to shift her brain to adjust to the new plans. And then going from a vacation where you are now the grandma/mom with 11 and a 14-year-old is very different from a vacation of being with the mom who does the parenting and you can just kind of take the side step. So it was just really fun for me to watch this confidence. And, when you see how in the past there was a lot of, I could never do those things. That's not me. I can't do Ubers and I can't do these things. And that's just not me. To now all of that is changing because they are creating who they are. And the ripple effects of that is now her granddaughters are seeing such an amazing example of this grandma who just does all these cool things. And she doesn't let things get in her way. She just allows herself to pivot and to refocus and to rejig and rework that situation so that she can continue to love her life, create the life that she wants. This is what is possible for all of you. And I think that one of the biggest disservices that we give ourselves is that we do not allow ourselves the opportunity for change and for growth. We spend so much time praising our kids and encouraging our kids and paying for coaches for them, for their sports teams or like a debate coach. We spend so much time and effort for them for that development. And I just question, why aren't we doing it for ourselves? And I'm just so glad that these ladies in my membership are doing that. It is completely possible for you. I 100% know that with the tools and the support, you can totally do this. I just needed to say that plug because we all need a little nudge, right? I just see it so often and repeated of what is happening in the lives of these women when they learn these tools and they use them and they keep showing up. It's so awesome. I'm going to we're going to have a little history lesson. How does that sound? I loved teaching history. It's a podcast that I actually have listened to it and taken notes from it 3 times. It's fascinating. The podcast is linked. So the podcast is called The Diary of a CEO, and he is interviewing Johann Hari. He's a really accomplished author. He has struggled with his weight his whole life. He's a Scottish writer and journalist. The thing that's so fascinating about this interview is that even though he has struggled with his weight for so long, and he actually described it during COVID, and he was thinking, okay, I'm going to go to my first party and it's going to be really interesting and everyone else is going to be even like way more. They're going to be quite large. And he gets there and he sees all these famous people who are really skinny and they kind of have these gaunt looking faces. And he blown away. He's like, what has happened to all these? They got really amazing fitness coaches or something. So his book was called The Magic Pill: The Extraordinary Benefit and Disturbing Risks of the New Weight Loss Drugs. And one of the descriptions here online says, reveals how his childhood trauma led him to uncover the dark side of society's obesity epidemic exposure. So he actually lines out 12 serious risks on the GLP-1 drugs. So Ozempic, there's a whole variety of them. And some of them are suicide, depression, malnutrition, alcoholism, drug abuse. There's so many problems. It is really, really interesting. The crazy thing about it is that he's on that drug. So it's just this wild, that's why it's just like, it's kind of blown my mind, because he outlines these 12 really serious risks for this disease. But on the other hand, it's this battle because on the other hand, obesity is also a really serious problem. So he just keeps weighing out the difference. And the thing that's so startling is that he gives all these examples of all these people. But people were really excited about this idea of, I could just take this pill and I could just eat whatever and I could still lose weight. When we check out with the Chat GPT, because, that's where we go for history. So Chat GPT, so we have the amphetamines. And this is when we started to discover that was at these factories for making the ammunition. So from the 1930s to the 1970s. Now, so we have like Dexedrine and Adderall. People have heard of that. But what was happening? People were having heart attacks. It was super addictive, and they were having really serious side effects, dying at an earlier age. Then we have this thyroid hormone. So because we can have an underactive thyroid or an overactive thyroid. So when we have the overactive thyroid, it boosts our metabolism and then we can lose weight. But of course, there's going to be, when you're inserting a drug like that and you're increasing, especially when you think of menopause. So no longer are we getting our estrogen from our ovaries. The thyroid is part of creating that for us. If we're boosting it that way and it's like really stressing it out, of course, we're going to have these side effects like heart palpitations, bone loss. It's just going to increase the menopause symptoms that we struggle with. And then we have the I was like, I should take a pronunciation class before this. Phenetramine. So that was a stimulant that suppresses appetite. People are still using it, even though they know that it's increased their blood pressure, insomnia, nervousness. That came out in 1999. Orlistat, and it blocks the absorption of dietary fat in the intestine, leading to reduced calorie intake. So, of course, we're going to have gastrointestinal issues, oily stool, flatulence. It's not a healthy. It's kind of like duct tape, right? Like you can use duct tape and it will work for a certain amount of time, but it eventually wears off and it's not sustainable. And then we have this Wutramine. I don't think I said that right. From 1997 to 2010. But what that would do was it was inhibiting the uptake of serotonin, norepinephrine, thus reducing your appetite. But it was withdrawn from the market because there was an increase of cardiovascular events, heart attacks, and strokes. So, and then we have another one, the lorcaserin, same kind of idea. The body's tricking to think it's full. But then, of course, we have risk cancer, a cancer for risks. Now we're here at 2014 with the GLP-1 receptor agonists. This one's interesting. This is what we're getting, like Wegovy and Ozempic and all of these variations of this drug. Basically, what they're doing is, and these were used for diabetes patients. So when they were seeing the results for that, they were looking at how it was controlling their appetite and they're slowing the gastric emptying. You could see that it was working. However, there's a lot of side effects. And in fact, in this Johan's book, he has 12 deadly side effects. So you take this drug and 70% of the people, once you get off of this drug, you gain the weight back. It reduces your muscle and it affects your bones. So now you're getting, again, these advanced in menopause, which we've been talking about. It just accelerates it. And then we know about bone density and when women fall. So according to the World Health Organization, falls are the second leading cause of unintentional injury. So older people have the highest risk of death or serious injury arising from a fall. We look at history, even with all the research and all the scientists putting their heads together, and there is big money in weight loss drugs, huge. Of course, we don't want to have those risks, but the problem is we keep trying to solve a problem with the wrong approach. We are abusing food, and we are not using food for how it's intended. They have an epidemic of obesity. There's no question, and it's worldwide. And the reason it's becoming more and more worldwide is because we are not addressing the issue. So my mom had a new hip recently, and I had to take her for a couple of appointments. I'm going into the hospital, and there's doctors, nurses smoking. They're overweight because even them who see it firsthand aren't getting the emotional support and help to overcome it. They know clearly the effects of obesity. And we have moms, grandmas, like we have regular people who are becoming obese, even though they're lovingly and caregiving and they're amazing and wonderful, but there's something missing in taking care of themselves to create a healthy relationship with food and their body and their life. And I know this is super bold, and I do recognize that there are, and I'm going to be the next podcast, spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about sexual abuse and how that's one of the contributors for obesity. There's 3 reasons. Cortisol. So we're not dealing with our stress. Why aren't we? Why aren't we getting the help that we need? Why are we not taking care of our stress? Our stress comes from here and our body system. The second reason we're overweight is because of overhunger. So we're just eating more than our body needs. We're just constantly feeding ourselves more than we need. And the third is over desire. We're going to the sugar and flour and we're not taking care of ourselves. We have to start really being honest with ourselves. And that is why life coaching or therapy or whatever you need to do, you need to get the help because you are basically putting yourself in jail. You're trapping yourself in this endless loop of trying to solve a problem that can't be solved with food. You cannot solve your problems with food. The only problems you can solve with food is energy for your body. That's about it. So we have to stop. It's madness. This is the problem. The rules of being a human, we want to become more independent. We have to. We watch these nature shows and we've got these lionesses and they have these 4 cubs and you watch them as they go and they hunt all day and they have to teach them to be independent, and we all have to become independent. That's normal. But to become independent, the rule is you have to be uncomfortable. You have to learn and grow, and you have to have failure, and you have to, experience what it feels like to mess up and to ask for forgiveness. Or the second part of the rules of being a human. So the first one is we want to increase our independence. That is a natural and a very healthy thing. The second is discomfort to figure it out. It's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel great. But what can be really super helpful is being able to say, I'm really uncomfortable. I tried this new thing. of this new thing that I tried, what went well, what didn't go so well, and what can I do better next time? This is the key right there. So the third phase is to figure it out so that we can get to that next level. Now, for all my perfectionist girls out there, I see you. I love you. I hear you. Perfectionism was, and it still is a challenge for me. I'm rewiring my brain to allow myself to learn and to grow. And every time I make a mistake, I don't have to punch myself in the face. That's what perfectionists do. They don't allow themselves to move on and they punish themselves forever, right? You hear me, right? You hear me. You're like, why did I do that? What's wrong with me? Why can't I ever get it right? What's the point of even trying? I keep failing. And you just punch yourself in the face over and over instead of saying, I'm so proud of myself. I can't believe this. This is so cool. I'm like trying new things. I'm learning new things. I am thrilled with the progress that I've made. Right? That's what I want to be hearing. So now you're figuring it out. You achieve it to the next level. And then guess what happens? Your brain's like, you're back to number one. You want to increase your independence. So then you're back to number two, which is discomfort to figure it out. But then now you're uncomfortable again. So it's like my son who got top marks in grade 9 math. And then he went to grade 10 math and he got 51%. Because at the beginning of the class, he was like, what? This is hard. But I'm good at math. And he realized halfway through, like, oh my goodness, I'm failing. I'm going to have to repeat this class. So then he started pulling his socks up and started like getting help and going there for lunch and all of that. But by then, he got 51. Technically, he could move on to grade 11. But I said, well, what do you want to say? I'm going to take that again. So just because you elevate, you got really good marks in grade 9, but grade 10 brings it to the next level. That is what a human's life is like. So we have to learn to embrace this growth. And the issue is weight loss drugs aren't addressing that issue. So we're still doing the same pattern of going to the food because we're feeling frustrated, going to the food because we want to numb ourselves out, going to the food because we can't cope very well, going to the food because our life isn't great. We're having, ice cream treat to look forward to. It's like a little carrot in front of us. Do you see how it doesn't address the issue? I am not a scientist, but I am a person who has common sense. I am a life coach who professionally have helped women, hundreds of women, since 2019. I've been helping them look at their relationship with food, look at their relationship with their body, look at what's really going on and opening their eyes to these really unhealthy patterns. It's crazy, you guys. I know it's so hard. I get it. And I am not here to judge people. I am not here to finger wag at them and tell them they're so dumb and awful for taking weight loss drugs. But what I am telling them, and if you're thinking about taking weight loss drugs, he talks about like muscle loss, sarcopenia. So when you fall, then you're more likely to die, and your muscle mass, it's like a walking time bomb. He talks about depression and suicide. Type 2 diabetes takes 15 years off your life. Within a year of stop taking Ozempic, you regain 70% of your weight. Oh, he also talked about eating disorder. So if you have disordered eating, then what a lot of people will go to disordered drinking or disordered working or whatever that is, because it's just like they're just addiction swapping. But this was the big one. There are so many unknowns. We just don't know what we don't know. So when you're taking these drugs, you're playing with fire. Your heart could stop or you could become paralyzed. No, there's so many unknowns. One of the things that he showed us in this work was he gave the example of Japan. Right at the beginning of school, we're like, we don't serve processed food in school. The kids make their own food. They help with the food. They teach their kids how to eat. So they make these new norms. I could go on a lot more, but I want to thank you, first of all, for being here. The second thing I want to say is that every time you turn to food, it was an effort for you to feel better, but it doesn't work. It just makes it worse. And the third thing I want to say is that you are not broken. You are not past repair. It's like you've been playing a game. You've been playing Monopoly with the rules for Scrabble. It's like Monopoly is a dumb game. It didn't make sense. You have been eating without the right rule book. because you're turning to food to numb out. You're turning to food for pleasure. But it's not true. This is not real. It's like virtual reality, right? The fourth thing I want to say is that when you slow down and look at what's going on and really be honest with yourself, you are going to get so much freedom. There is so much freedom with opening it up. So I want you to just imagine what life would look like if you were not constantly battling yourself and your brain and everything about your body. What would that be like? So I have experienced that. Back in 2018, I got a coach and she helped me. She taught me this tool that helped me solve any problem. And that tool has changed my life. I have lost over 50 pounds and I've kept it off since 2019. I have created an incredible community. I've made over $1 million as a life coach, which I never imagined in my wildest dreams would ever be possible. I've completely changed my relationship with money, with my relationship with my family, my kids, my husband, and I want that for you. The path is different for all of you, but I know the tools that will help you to create the path that you need to make for your own unique life. I am here for you. I've got you. It's one thing to listen to this podcast, and I'm so grateful that you're listening to the podcast. But until you actually start doing this for yourself and start like writing things down and slowing down and thinking about it, you're just going to keep repeating the same old. If you always do what you've always done, you always get what you always got. And I don't want that for you anymore. I just had every single day, I look in the mirror and I just think, oh my goodness, Dara, so proud of you. Recently, I was at my sister's. I'd always been jealous of my sister. She had a beautiful body and she just was so beautiful. She still is beautiful. She's just an amazing and talented, just incredible person. And she brought up some clothes and she brought up this jumper and she's like, try this on. And I thought, when did you wear this? I was like, I don't know if that would ever fit me. And I put it on and I just started to cry. It looked so good on me. And I just couldn't believe that I could wear that jumper. There's so much emotion when it comes to our bodies and our expectations. And the thing that really made me so happy was that I have worked through so many challenges. I have created such a strong relationship with myself. I have I've really established like this really healthy relationship with me, my body, my mind. I'm being pretty vulnerable right now, but I tried it on just for fun, but she brought a bunch of other things and I tried some stuff on. And then I had a coaching program. So I had to wake up early and get going she drops me off at the train station. She didn't give it to me, but I was about to get dressed in my clothes that I was going to wear for the event. I put that jumper on again. Then I finally worked through so many issues that I have created so much peace in my own body that my body is in this healthy, like mentally and emotionally healthy state. That's what I want for all of you. This was a doozy, but it needs to be said. And I want to help you. And I want you to learn how to help yourself and to have those experiences because that was sweet and that was genuine. That was real. No drug could ever give that to you. All right. Give me your feedback. I want to hear it. If you want more help with learning about your body and how it's changing through menopause, perimenopause, through whatever it is, my program is focused on helping you truly become your own best expert. So as we go through June, working on our menopause, perimenopause experiences, July, we're focusing on becoming our own bestie, July and August actually, with our summertime challenge. And then in August, we're really diving into how to lose the physical weight when you focus so much on the mental. I have an incredible program for that coming in August. So there's so much to look forward to. You truly can make your own transformation. And I love helping you find that inner knowledge and wisdom that's just waiting for you to unlock so that you can create permanent change for yourself.